Welcome back to Red Gym. Rachel and Adam. Yeah, I didn't know what that was. The Rachel and Adam Show back at ya. Tuesdays at 12:30. We come to you to talk about your health in terms of your relationship. And your relationship with yourself, your relationship with a spouse, with a boyfriend, girlfriend, with your kids, with anything like that. Now, being on board together, going for something is much more powerful than just trying to do it alone. It's hard to drudge along and do it alone. And one of the things, as you can see from the title, that we've, especially me, that I've noticed a lot is, in the last couple years especially, and I can get along with a lot of it. Like, I definitely think, I think we should accept people. And I think that we should accept people that are different than us, and I think that we should accept people who disagree. And where I tend to disagree on the accept everyone is when the whole thing of when it starts going to accept those people. So that's what we're going to talk a little bit. Yeah, with an E. So accept, like I accept everyone for who they are, and accept them. Like lost me there. I'm like, wait a minute. What's up with that? That doesn't make any sense. So if you're coming in here, please weigh in the comments below. One of the signs that I saw a couple years ago that really started to spark this was it said no racists, no homophobes, no hate, only love. We accept everyone. And I was like, well, if you accept everyone, not that I'm saying that racism and hatred and homophobia is a good thing. Like I definitely think that's ridiculous. But at the same time, like if you say you accept everyone, then we got some work to do because then you can't exclude that whole group. And so some of this is going to be about you as an individual, and then also you as a collective, as all of us, the we of humanity. But anyway, now that I'm done with the intro, what would you? Sorry, I kind of just totally. Blew your whole deal.
I didn't mind it.
Was it good? So what do we got first on the list? Accept everyone, accept them. What's your experience? What's your thoughts?
Well, I mean, accepting. I mean, what I know that you were talking about, like the whole, it kind of started with the Trump thing.
What's that?
The accept. Like the.
You mean like President Trump?
Well, yeah.
What did it start with?
Well, when we first had a conversation about it, that's when I kind of understood what you were talking about when you were saying that. And then that example you just gave was pretty good. But like hating the hater kind of stuff.
Yeah, like I've said that a lot of times before. Like if you hate a hater, then you're a bigot too. If you hate a hate group, you're a bigot too. You're doing the thing that you hate.
Preaching against.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know if I completely agree with everything that means, but because I don't really understand it yet. But
well, what do you just? And this is one of the things there. Like, I want to make very, very clear before we get into this, is that disagreements are a very good thing. Like Rachel and I, do we disagree?
A lot of times on a lot of things.
And does it have
to? We don't like how I was saying before. We don't disagree like on complete whole topics, but in the details, we disagree a lot on.
But you have to, like, disagreements, for one, I think disagreements are a gift. They're fantastic. It lets you learn a new perspective. For two, you are Rachel Park, the individual. I am Adam Reese, the individual. The perspective that you had and the conclusions that you've come to that aren't conclusive, I think both of us have a very open mind to new things.
They're formed over...
Especially you came to them by way of your own devices, and I came to mine by way of my own devices. So how could they possibly be the same?
Yeah. That's why it's good to, I mean, you can accept people for having, even if they disagree with you, but...
I think that's the beauty of it. And I think, like, that's the reality of it, too, is that you're not going to get away from that. Like, the reality is, like, individuality always is going to be a thing. Like, we might be a collective group of humanity, and then I might be on the collective of males, and you might be a collective of females, and that's where we separate, right? But at the same time, you get down to the bare bones of it, all of us are individuals.
And we gain new perspectives by talking about our disagreements.
Seriously. But it's kind of hard to do that when you're slinging rocks at each other.
Yeah, it's not about
so
that.
So
it's
for
about
us,
gaining like opening up your mind to this isn't how I always think and this isn't how it's always going to be. It's more like this is how I feel right now. This is what I know right now and believe. But the more you learn, the more you know, the more you can form that opinion.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note that we have an agreement. We have an agreement that if what?
I don't know what you're about to say.
Well, if it goes to combat, we're out.
Wow.
If it goes to, like, if she takes it personal or I take it personal, and one of us starts getting a little heated, we're out. We lift it. We lift the drawbridge, and I go for a walk. She walks upstairs. We separate for that time period.
Kind of like, but we come back and we discuss it. Kind of like that time when we played Monopoly.
Yes, kind of like that time.
Into combat.
I would say, that was my first time playing Monopoly, and it was awesome. And
I talked him into doing it because I thought that he would really like it.
Loved it.
And he loved
so
it a
much
little
fun.
too much.
And then okay, so she had never seen me be competitive, and I'm gonna win. I'm gonna win this sucker. Anyway, and she was losing so bad, and I was kicking butt, and she was not liking it very much. And finally, I was just like, okay, well, I'll make it a game. So I gave her this really good deal, and she was like, you're being a jerk. And I was like, I'm being a nice guy. It didn't
So
go
that
very
turned
well.
into combat.
So it turned into combat, and that's when we had the agreement, like, hey, if it ever gets to that point again, I'm going this way, you're going that way, we'll come back later.
Mm-hmm.
And now we think of it as it's more of a practice.
I'm not extremely proud of that
I-
either because I
why
lost
would
my
you?
cool.
Why would you be? Why would I be?
I don't know.
But I did kick her butt.
We played one time. We haven't played since then, and it was about 2 years ago.
That was more than that.
Packed it up.
That
I
was
think we even left it on the ground for about 2 months.
2 months? No way.
No, we were like, we're coming back to this.
I think, yeah,
And
I don't know
it
if it was
an
2 months,
extended
but
period of time.
it was 2 weeks. But anyway, disagreements are a very good thing. We don't always agree, and that's totally fine. And I think that's a good thing. For me, sometimes, I'm assertive. I throw out mine. I throw out my opinion. I throw out my perspective really easy. I've got to kind of pry it out of Rach sometimes. She's kind of wants to keep it to herself. But I want to know what's on her mind. Anyway, where were we going before that?
So accepting. So also
Accepting people that are extremely different from you. I
so
think
the reason you don't accept someone, how you were talking about how
because they disagree with you.
no, because you believe in people, like to
Oh
change.
yeah. Well, yeah. I believe in the individual, so I don't believe necessarily in that all people are these wonderful.
Like I love you how you are, like I love you right now, and accept you, but I don't want to just say don't work with that.
Yeah, exactly. So, I started out with a kind of an extreme example of racism, homophobia, but the hard thing to do. And I remember doing this in college. We had to take this class on instead of tolerance, it was about acceptance and accepting people that are different than you, accepting people that disagree with you, accepting people that you would consider your enemy.
Using empathy versus judgment.
Yes, exactly. So to try to gain understanding of them, not in a manipulative way, but so that you can come to a point where you can have this mutual discussion.
Not a combative one.
Yeah, because how are you going to get anywhere if there's not some sort of shared self-disclosure? You know, if I can't express what I think, feel, believe, and you accept, and just between us, if you can't accept that. That's going to be really hard to create a relationship out of, to create a bonding out of, to create a true love out of.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to stay up at night and ponder what we disagree on.
You don't do that? I do. No, I'm kidding.
I was going to say. Because there's a lot of things we're not going to agree on in the future, but accepting how you got to that conclusion and how I got to my conclusion shouldn't.
I think that's powerful if you can do
It
that.
should actually give you kind of a peace of mind.
Yeah, I do too. But I think I kind of started out with an error because I started with an extreme example like racism and homophobia. Like I'm not saying I agree with those, and I think it's very hard to
Yeah, and we don't want to hang out with someone that's racist and homophobic, but we don't want to give them more power by
telling that
kicking them out of a.
I think if, like I said, like if you hate a hate group, you're giving them what they want, and you're also being a bigot. So like if you hate a hate group, what's a hate group want? What is it? Like misery loves company, right? So if you're miserable, you're gonna be miserable to somebody else. You're gonna be angry to somebody else, and you're giving them an invitation into your own misery.
Giving them attention as well.
I don't want to take their invitation. So like if the racist is miserable, I don't want to take his or her invitation to be in their space. I want to be like, okay, I accept that you're miserable, but I don't have to go there with you. I accept that you're a racist, but I don't have to become a racist too. I accept that you're homophobic and you don't whatever. Accept people that are different than you. I can accept that we disagree. I can accept that you are the way you are, and that's okay. I don't know if that's okay. That was the wrong way to say it. But.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So, okay, that kind of got off.
Yeah, that kind of went all over the place.
Back onto you have massive belief in people to do better.
Yeah, I think anybody can grow from where they are. Like I think you do too.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to do it as an individual. The group mentality definitely can lend a hand, but ultimately you're the one who has to do it. You can go to a gym and sit in the corner and never get any results. But you went.
Yeah, you could spend all day at the gym.
You went to the gym. You didn't do shit.
Does that happen a lot? I mean, I don't think.
Not at Grit.
Not at Grit, but like, I would assume that people go to a gym and just kind of say they're at the gym. Like, I
totally.
spent 2 hours at the gym, but
Totally.
what were you doing for those 2 hours?
I used to work at like a big corporate gym, like a big box gym. I did for 3.5 years. I worked at 2 different ones, and they were both kind of the same. You'd see there was a lot of people. They'd walk in the door and they'd kind of stumble around the weights for like 10 to 20 minutes, kind of not knowing what they were doing, not knowing what to do, just kind of doing random stuff. And then they would go over to the cardio equipment for 10 to 20 minutes, and then they'd leave. Like I would not call that a productive workout. But a lot of people did that, and those were the good ones. The other ones would hang out on a piece of equipment for an hour, or maybe switch back and forth and then go home. Mm-hmm. Or some people would just go in and hang out with their friends and leave. Or some people would, it was just...
Be on your phone.
Yeah. It was kind of a funny thing. But yeah, I definitely think that some people show up to the gym, check in on Facebook, and leave.
That's a little extreme.
I bet you that percentage is higher than you think.
I bet it is pretty high, actually.
Yeah. But anyway, accepting people. I don't think that if you're gonna say accept everyone, I accept everyone, then exclude a certain group, then you're definitely not accepting everyone. So I think we can all agree to that. But like, it's super difficult, like, to accept people that you are hardcore disagreeing with.
Yeah, it's not easy. It's actually really hard for some people.
Like we struggle with it.
I'm pretty good at it. I don't know about you. You're working on it.
I'm always working on it, but at the same time, like I have a lot of practice because a lot of people super disagree with how I think.
And what we do, we stumble across a lot of different types of people, but you can still always find a common interest or a common ground to talk
agree.
about, like how.
I can almost say I agree on some level. Like I don't have to disagree with somebody up front, and I'm not lying.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. No, you can learn something from anybody. You can learn something from the racist or the bigot or blah 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 whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They have something to share, to give a perspective, whether you agree with them or not.
Whether you agree with it or not. Just because you accept them doesn't mean that you have to like engulf their beliefs into who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have this weird experience where where I was, there was like a bunch of Hispanic people like speaking Spanish with their friends, and they came in and
sounds like elementary school for me.
Well, I mean, they were just like hanging out, having fun with their friends, and this guy comes up and sits next to them, and he's like, I can't accept that you won't speak English. You're in a place where everybody else is speaking English. It's really rude for you not to speak English. And I just thought that was like the worst. Like, it, first of all, it pointed the finger to all of them. Second of all, it made them feel ashamed for being themselves.
Well,
and having fun with their friends.
He was passing judgment on them.
He was definitely passing judgment. And like
they can accept that judgment however they want.
Yeah, they handled it very well, actually. Like, it wasn't like a fight or anything. It was just like they were trying to seek understanding. They're like, but why? Like,
that's powerful.
I don't understand. Like, what problem do you have with it? And I don't know. The guy who had a problem with it was just he could not accept them, whether they were nice guys or bad guys, or
he couldn't accept
them just because they were speaking a different language.
Yeah, see, I think to most people that would seem very silly, right?
It would, because he
seems silly to you. It seems silly to me.
Anything about them? He literally hasn't. But he was kind of afraid. I think he was afraid.
So
he was afraid that they were speaking about him, maybe, and he couldn't understand it.
Well,
or
sure.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Whatever his situation was, can you But you can sit and you can So most people are going to be like, "Well, that guy's an asshole." But like, stop and think about it for a second. Like, can we get to It's much easier. I think it's easier to think about the Hispanics and be like, "Oh, we accept you for speaking a different language. We accept you for being here. We accept." Mm-hmm. I think it's much harder to look at that guy and accept that he has a perspective, even though it might disagree with ours.
He was trying to speak for everybody around him.
Yeah.
He was saying, we don't like that. And I went up to him and I was like, I'm so sorry. Like, I don't care if you guys speak Spanish at all. Like, go ahead. I don't care. Like, that does not bother me one bit. I don't agree with him.
Yeah.
But what are you going to do?
Like, I think that's for one, that's what, one of the things I like about capitalism is that if someone comes, if you're gonna say, well, Hispanics can't come to my establishment anymore, then everybody's gonna crowd around that and be like, well, we're not gonna come to your establishment then. So if you say, well, they get to stay, and that guy doesn't like it, he can leave. Well, I like that.
Is that having me choose between one or the other?
I don't think it's an either or. If he wants to stay, he can stay. It's just a matter of freedom of choice. Yeah. He can stay if he wants, and he can leave if he wants, and they can stay if they want, and he can stay. I don't think it's necessarily a pick for you. I think it's a pick for them.
Yeah.
But I think it's much harder to sit. I am not in any way defending that guy. Mm-hmm. However, can you sit down and accept that he was trying to stand for something that he believed in? Maybe, I don't know.
I think he was just really ignorant in that instance.
Sure.
I said, he's afraid.
Sure, he's being an ass, but can you
he wasn't
accept
even trying
that?
to be an ass. He was trying to say that this is how
I would
people
call
perceive you
I would call
when
it
you
being
do
an
this.
ass.
Well, yeah. To him, he wasn't being an ass.
No, that's what I mean. To him, what he said was right and true and profound and great, and he was maybe. I'm not saying this is accurate, but maybe, and he was sticking up for what he believed in. And we might look at that and be like, "That's ridiculous, dude." But
I accept him for
yes
being able to do that, but I can't really
right.
That I agree with it.
So that's one of those things with being offended. You are an individual. You're going to think differently than other people. I can't read your mind and understand when you are going to feel triggered or offended or take something personal. And we have this agreement so that we can still express what we want to say.
Feel safe doing so.
That 100%, you're responsible for 100% of what you think, act, feel, and behave and receive, and I'm 100% for what I think, act, feel, and believe. Or how I behave. Said it backwards.
Well, and you want to be able to feel safe saying what you what's the thing? The ask
for 100% of what you want 100% of the time.
Okay, but the other one as well. Show me a couple that doesn't fight.
Oh, and I'll show you a liar.
A liar.
The way I say it is, show me a couple that doesn't that always agrees, and I'll show you a liar, or I'll show you at least one person that gave up.
Yeah. So they can accept each other, but they can also build upon that and show each other kind of their points of view.
Yeah, but I think your example is great. You don't have to agree with this guy, but you can accept that he's different than you. You can accept that you disagree with him, but you can still accept him.
It's
for
really
who he is.
hard, but
It's
I can
super
see
hard.
it out of his
It's super
his
difficult.
eyes. Because I sat there for about 5 or 10 minutes trying to like think of what to say to him. I didn't want to be mean about it, but I also want to be like, that's not okay. Like,
Yeah.
in my eyes, that's not okay.
And really, he probably, if he was scared that they were making fun of him, he could have asked, "Hey, are you making fun of me?"
Well, and I did want to not say anything because I didn't want him to think that I agreed and that was like something that I'm okay with going on. Like, they come in here all the time. Why? They're not causing any trouble. We're having fun, and this is your only problem. Their speech is the only problem that you have with them. I don't want to encourage that or say, yeah, you're right. Like, there's certain points where, like, I have a group of people in front of me. They all have different views. I can't agree with every single one of them. I can't show them that I agree with certain behaviors. So if I just, like, sit there and be quiet, I'm not really, like, explaining how I feel.
Yeah.
And it kind of takes away from...
Yeah. And a lot of people will come in and say, well, you accepting them is wrong. You're allowing that to happen. But I don't think that's accurate. Like, how in the world are you going to be able to create a dialogue with that guy and be able to talk it out and maybe share a perspective that he could learn from if you don't accept him for who he is first?
Yeah, we can agree to disagree.
I love that phrase.
Do you?
Yeah, yeah.
What, you do or you don't?
No, I hate that phrase. I just disagree. I know, by like proxy, you do agree to disagree, even if you disagree. But I just like why when people say that, I'm just like, I don't have to agree to disagree.
You don't have to.
I just disagree.
There's certain instances where you don't have to come to a conclusion and be like both happy with how it ended up. Like that's not always going to happen. When people say come to a compromise, like yeah, you can come to like kind of like okay. We don't agree, so
I think it's the wrong word.
Leave it.
I think compromise is the wrong word in that scenario. Come to a compromise, like okay, so I'm supposed to give up and you're supposed to give up. Like that sounds ridiculous.
No,
like let's get real. Like, are we being competitive or are we being cooperative? Am I trying to say you're wrong and I'm right, and vice versa, or are we being cooperative? Because I think that what you're really trying to get to isn't a compromise. I think you're trying to get to an understanding. I can understand you.
Yeah, you want to get to an understanding.
Can understand me, not a compromise, an understanding. Because if I can understand where you're coming from, and I can get very clear in my head about your perspective, how you got there, why you think that way, and vice versa, you to me, then I think like it just naturally happens. But if we go for compromise, I'm gonna get a little resentful, and you're gonna get a little resentful, and there was good. How's that for a relationship? Sounds amazing. Can't wait.
I don't know. I think it could. The words go hand in hand depending on the situation.
Sure, words are containers, and it depends how you fill them. But I just think like a compromise is like I'm going to give up a piece of my stance, and you're going to give up the piece of your stance, so that we can somehow balance this out. I think that's silly. I think if you seek understanding of the situation and of how you got there and how I got there, now we got something to work on. Then we can still disagree, but I can at least understand your position.
And we come to an agreement that.
And there's respect is just naturally built in there.
Yeah, it's not always a very easily, like, it's a skill that not many people are able to handle.
Yeah. So like the love thing, like we only accept love here. Well, if you're gonna do that, then I think that just depends on your definition of love. But man, you're gonna have to accept everybody.
There's a lot of people out there.
There was that one, I don't remember, it was a documentary or what, but there was I don't know, he's probably like mid-20s, maybe low 30s, I don't know. But he was black, he was African-American, and he walked in and he went to a meeting with, I think it was Ku Klux Klan members. I mean, like, hardcore hate group, right? And he had a discussion with them, and I thought, massive respect for that guy and courage walking into that place. And he listened to all their points, listened to what they had to say, sought understanding on a crazy deep level, and he just remained anything that, he didn't get offended, he didn't take it personal, he didn't get emotional. And by the end of it, it was wild. It was this amazing thing. They were having this unreal discussion back and forth, and they were like becoming friends because this young black male had the guts to go and have a conversation with these people that outrageous disagreement from.
That'd be pretty powerful.
Oh my God, it was amazing. It was so cool. So much respect for that
So I'm
for
sure
that young man to do that.
Kind of tweaked their understanding
Mm-hmm.
as far as.
Yeah, it had to. How else could it not? And those guys, and it was almost like he accepted that they were going to think different than him no matter what. But at the same time, do you think he made a difference?
Yeah.
In their eyes,
He made a huge difference.
I do too.
I don't know what he said, but like, if
It
you're
was
hanging
amazing.
out with like a group of people that are like-minded, you're never gonna broaden your ideas.
Yeah.
Your ideas are just gonna become more and more cemented, whether they're right or wrong.
That was one of the things that our relationship coach said very early on. He was like, what did he say? If you want to grow or something like that, get around a bunch of people that disagree with you. And I was like, no shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You learn a lot.
Yeah.
Even with the people that you completely 100% disagree with.
That kind of gave me hope because I was like, well, I'm around a lot of people that disagree with me.
I bet. Yeah, exactly. And coming back to the beginning, we don't agree on many things.
But that doesn't mean that
It doesn't
we
mean that
super
we-
disagree on a lot of things either. It's just like
yeah, we just don't see eye to eye.
and we don't have to.
And
I think that's the wonderful thing. Like we don't have to, and this isn't like this is how it's always been.
It
We
leaves,
work on this
Yeah.
a lot, and
It
every time it's practice.
leaves a lot of opportunities for discussions. Like, I don't know how many times we've discussed certain topics and we still, like,
Tweak.
yeah. It's just like, oh, yeah, okay, there's a point. Okay, I don't know.
And there's always
It gets the, what do you call it? The wheels turning.
the wheels turning, the hamster
Yeah.
wheel inside your brain.
Yeah, you don't want the hamster to just be, like, sitting there.
Yeah,
Like, oh,
and
yeah.
she always learns something because
You always learn.
because men's brains are 3 times the size of women's science.
I think they're a third of the size of women's. You got that backwards.
I haven't seen that movie in a long time, but no, there's an appreciation there. Like, how do you grow? Like, how does starting with a disagreement create more bonding, create like a better relationship, create more health, create like this tighter, the true love or whatever you want to call it. Like that seems counterintuitive, right? Because it is. Because I think it takes a lot of guts to do that. That was a little bit of a humble brag.
Dust my shoulder off.
I did dust your shoulder off. But anyway, what else do we have down? Well, we got to end pretty soon, but
I don't know, like having gratitude for what people can bring to the conversation
yeah,
is also
I agree.
part of it.
Yeah, not just cherry picking through what you think is bad, but like if somebody brings up something that you
Shying away from certain topics is not always the best thing either.
Yeah.
Like I always say,
I think you got to be careful who you do it with.
Yeah.
But what were you
it
gonna say?
depends. I always say stay away from religion, politics, and what? What's the other one?
I think you're supposed to stick to the weather. And,
Yeah.
But
But really,
or you're supposed to stick to health and the weather. But the
the
joke
good
is
stuff
that
comes
because
from
of vaccines and climate change,
conversations.
you can't go with those either.
I think in a bar, that's when you stay away from the religion, the politics, and
But those are like my favorite things to talk
I know,
about. I
but
like
they can
talking
get
about
too
theology.
heated sometimes.
I like talking about weird stuff.
Not everybody's trying to seek understanding. You kind of have to be careful and feel it out.
Yeah.
Like to get into let's get into a deep conversation about religion. Okay, well some people are just stick in the muds.
Yeah.
They're not going to be very fun to have a conversation with because they've already made their decision. They never want to change it. They never want to.
Well, I think that they
your
feel threatened.
perspective.
I think
Yeah,
they either feel
you don't wanna
threatened or they feel like
go
their
into
perspective isn't good enough. And like, if that's the case, I don't want to have I don't want to have a conversation with you anyway. You're just gonna yell. You're just gonna get all pissy at me.
Yeah, feel it out because it could go south pretty quickly. I've seen it happen many times.
You mean when they're drunk
And in punches, yeah.
or sober? Oh, did it go off?
Yeah. Sober.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of power in acceptance, especially of people that are different than you, because you got to go to some pretty crazy places inside your mind to be able to pull that off.
Seeing it from another person's perspective and being empathetic and showing compassion is a big part of it as well. To have that kind of conversation.
You mean seeking understanding?
But some people are not very good at that, and you can tell right away.
Some people are getting better at it. Always.
Throwing fists onto the
bar?
Yeah, onto the bar. And pointing fingers is not a good start to a conversation.
Yeah, usually that's probably
Beware.
Not going to go very well.
Yeah.
All right, but anyway, so accept everyone, accept them. I don't know if I can go. That seems like something that is happening more and more, and I guess is anybody that
we're better as a whole.
I try to accept everybody. So even if you believe that it's okay to say accept them, I mean that's your individual viewpoint, perspective. I think more like. Okay, cool. We're a collective of humans, and then once you boil it down, we're all individuals, and that's the wonderful thing about it is that you get to do your you get to do you. So anyway, you want to send us off?
Slap the like and share button, and we'll see you next week. Yes, the Rachel and Adam, whatever you want to call it, the show. You want to call the show? Anyway, we're 12:30 on Tuesdays, and anything that we've talked about today, if you guys don't feel comfortable bringing your perspective to the table and putting it in the comments, please send me a direct message. There's a button around here somewhere that says message, and I'm happy to talk with you about it. I definitely I've had super weird discussions. Or other topics you want to. We can discuss. Yep.
Anyway, thanks for being here, guys. Really appreciate it. It's so cool when you guys show up. But please click the share button. Send this out to everybody that you know, or send it to one specific person. I don't really even care. But the more that you like it, the more it gets sent out. The more that you comment, the more people are going to engage with it, and Facebook's going to send it out to more people and more people and more people. So please click share, like, and then comment below with even just an emoji would be fantastic. You ready?
Yep.
All right. Thanks for being here, guys. We'll see you tomorrow.